Good evening. Good evening to you all, and thank you for joining us here in sunny York, the National Railway Museum. You're joining us here for the fabulous launch of the brand new Science Museum Group exhibition, Brass, Steel and Fire, a brand new exhibition devoted to the model engineer and also celebrating the launch, the landing here of Stephenson's very own original rocket. It's been on a tour for the first time ever from London Science Museum up to Manchester's Museum of Science and Industry and down here across to York, and is opening up tonight for the very first time. You are the very first people to see rocket here live in York. Now, this whole thing has been curated and masterminded really by a very good friend of mine, Anthony Coulls, Senior Curator of the National Railway Museum. Anthony, I'd love to see you.
Nice to see you. All right.
Ant's a very old friend of mine. We worked together for several years. Behind us is what looks like rocket. This is not Stephenson's original rocket, is it though?
No, this is a working replica made 40 years ago, and it's one of the stars of our operating train rides.
Fabulous. Now, we're going to go for a short ride on this, but also after this, and see how it works with the crew here. I can see Chris and also Beth on the footplate there as well, and Elizabeth at the back is our guard. Good evening. Hello. It's our team here. We're going to see how Stephenson's rocket actually worked back in 1829, as it was first built. But also, please, send us your questions about Stephenson's rocket and model engineering, and over the course of this next 20-25 minutes, Anthony and I will do our best to answer them as they come through from the crew behind us who are fielding any questions here live on Facebook. So please do type in the comments bar below, do share, do enjoy this. Now, we're going to get aboard rocket now. Ant's going to come back and talk to you shortly, but we're going to get on board now because I've been given full safety briefing of this wonderful engine. This is not, as I say, original Stephenson's rocket. I'm going to get on this now. I've been told I have to do this very carefully. I'm going to give you that. That's my clipboard. I'm going to get on. Right. Thank you very much. Well done. Thank you so much. I'm going to grab this this microphone. Now, as you can see, we're now aboard rocket. How exciting! This is the crew here. Chris and Beth. Hello. Right, there we go. There's our cameraman. Right, let's go off. I'm fine with that. Thank you so much. Right, let's go.
Excellent.
Okay. What are you doing there? Hang on. What is that?
This is a permanent way whistle. Unfortunately, we are required to blow a whistle, but they weren't invented, so we are compromising with a permanent way whistle.
Right, let's go then.
Yeah.
I think this just shows how basic this engine was. This is early steam engineering. Beth, what are you doing there?
I'm opening the regulator, see if we can go backwards, but she's decided that she doesn't want to.
Here you go. Grab the handbrake.
We're all good.
Lovely. So, this is a marvellous machine. She's only, what, 40 years old?
Indeed she is.
But she's based on design from 1829. And you can see it's so basic compared to what we know now. But this really is the model for all steam engines that followed.
Indeed it is.
Right?
Multi-tube boiler, a lot more efficient on the steaming front.
What do you mean by that? A multi-tube boiler?
So the tubes would have been a single tube taking the hot gases from the fire to the front through the water, but we put many more tubes in to get a greater heating area and make it more efficient for creating steam.
Now, I don't distract you too much because this is the end of the demonstration line here at the NRM in the South Yard. But interestingly, I saw that you haven't touched your hand on any brakes at all. Yet we've just stopped. Oh, we're stopping now. How are we stopping?
But at the moment, it's actually in forward gear. So I'm using the steam in the cylinders to slow us down and to retard our motion. So we're using the energy to stop us.
That's brilliant. So actually, there are no real brakes on this. You just put it into forward gear to slow it down.
Indeed, and into, as you see, stop.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Now, again, just if we go on the other direction, just see behind us here, there's this great big sort of barrel sitting here. And that's for water, is it?
It is. It's not full of Newcastle brown, unfortunately. But yeah, this is our water supply.
Brilliant. All right. Well, let's head back toward the museum. I want to see it going in forward motion.
Indeed. I shall check with the guard, make sure we're all right. Best bit of the job, that.
This is lovely. Now this gives rides, doesn't it, occasionally here at the museum? And the controls are pretty simple.
Really simple, yeah. What I was doing there, because she was like on a dead centre, I've just moved the valve myself and got her moving just to wait on the side.
You kindly had her in steam all afternoon for us today for a practice run for it.
Yes.
You got a lot of extra steam, it seems.
Yeah.
And what strikes me is just how narrow this thing is. You know, everything is within the size of the tracks and the width of it. Oh, fabulous. It's all so simple. Again, if you've got any questions about how this machine works and its history, do comment below in the comments, and Anthony and I were going to answer them all as we go along very, very shortly. Now we're coming back up here to the main platform. Thank you very much indeed for this. We're sitting here on the tender of rockets. This here is where the coal, I'm not going to touch it, it's very, very dirty. I've got to do a presentation shortly. This is where all the coal is kept and the water is kept. And of course, this is the model for all tenders that followed, really, all the stuff behind it. A lovely stop.
That's it.
That was
Let's grab the handbrake.
Thank you, Chris.
That's all right.
Beth, that was lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure everyone enjoyed that little ride on Rocket, a really truly historic item and part of the Science Museum Group collection. Right, thank you both very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Right, let me get it off and just get that right. I'm going to take that camera because this is so high tech. This is what we do here. We're doing our broadcast super high tech with a mobile phone. Right, standing behind me. Is Anthony Coulls. Thank you very much. My notes and my timings. You'll have seen that engine is so small, but of course if you look at it, painted bright yellow, there are similarities you can see to other engines, aren't there, Anthony? But of course, before this, what did engines look like before 1829, before Rocket looked like this?
Well, the steam locomotive from 1804 to 1829 was pretty much a lumbering tool, heavy tool to do a job. So this is a drawing of one of Trevithick's early locomotives. It's dated 1803. It's possible that there might not have even been an engine built by then. There's a bit of an argument amongst academics, but it was heavy, it was lumbering, it was powerful. But it didn't go very fast. It broke the rails. It was, you know, this is a steam dinosaur. Whereas within the space of less than 30 years, the light, fast, speedy thing that is Rocket appears. It flowers and blossoms out of the initial thoughts of the steam locomotive.
I mean, this wonderful old sort of creation here, it looks like some sort of, you know, steampunk sort of, I think you described it earlier as a watermill.
Yeah,
on
it's
rails.
it's like a steam-powered watermill, all the gears and the big flywheel and all that sort of stuff. But this drawing is one of the gems in our collection. It shows the genesis of the steam locomotive and the evolution of it through to Rocket now. You know, this would have been, as I say, just dark iron and a bit of maybe a bit of brass for bearings, but it wasn't anything to look at. Whereas Rocket is bright yellow. You know, it's the colour of speed, like stagecoaches.
Because of course, yellow was the speed, wasn't it? It was the colour of stagecoaches and postcoaches at the time.
Yeah.
Now, why was Rocket built? Why did this thing get created?
Well, Rocket was built to prove the concept. It was built to win the Rainhill trials. The promoters of the Liverpool and Manchester Railway knew they wanted to use locomotives. No, I don't say steam locomotives. They knew they wanted to use locomotives. But there were thoughts that locos couldn't necessarily climb hills. There was an idea that you might have winding engines at the top of hills to pull the trains up.
What, with cables pulling the trains along?
So what you ended up with was the promoters had seen the start of the Stockton-Darlington Railway only 4 years previously. 194 years ago on Friday. I have to get that out for my friends in the S&DR. But Liverpool-Manchester Railway is the world's first intercity railway. So they don't want lumbering coal machines. They want something that's light, they want something that's fast, they want it powerful, and they want it to be able to pull a long train across the 20-odd miles from Liverpool to Manchester. So they set up this competition and bring all comers. You know, there was one made that was powered by a horse.
Cyclopede.
Cyclopede, that's right. But the three front runners were Novelty by Braithwaite Ericsson of London, Somperai by Timothy Hackworth of Shildon, hurrah for Shildon, hello locomotion fans, and also Stephenson's Rocket. Stephenson's father and son, because George and Robert both had a hand in this thing. And this combined, it wasn't the first of anything, but it was the first that brought together a number of features.
So, this is really interesting. It's got really big driving wheels, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Really big driving wheels.
It's also got the cylinders, the pistons are connected directly. You haven't got this great sort of beam engine encumbrance above the top of it. You've got a thing called a multi-tubular boiler, and you've got the blast pipe, so it draws the exhaust steam up the chimney, making that chuff that we all know and love of a steam locomotive.
Now I've seen these in your collection. I've seen the original ones of these.
Yeah.
Now, these are what, Ant?
Well, these are the drawings from John Rastrick, and John Rastrick's notebook is an absolute key to the past of this engine. John Urquhart Rastrick was a pioneering locomotive engineer, but he was also one of the judges at the Rainhill trials. So he was studying the form of the racers and the riders, and he was making detailed notes of how they all fitted together, what they did, how they worked.
Right. Okay.
And it's something again that's just wonderful in our collection.
Now I know that we are now pushing towards 6:10. I think is the time.
Goodness
which
gracious.
means we are running over time,
Right,
as
run.
all of my programmes and broadcasts do. Hurrah! We're going on a little walk now. I'm going to just take this. I believe we've got some questions. Right, got some questions. High-tech questions.
questions.
So
Fabulous.
apparently, now this one I know actually is from the museum staff. I know, and it's a good question, which is, why is Rocket yellow now, but the one that we're going to see inside is brown? Why is it yellow?
So the full-size working replica you've just ridden on
Yeah.
is a model of Rocket as it was in 1829 at the Rainhill trials, when it was built to be the epitome of speed. That yellow we talked about for stagecoaches and whatever. It's not a very practical colour. You've seen it gets covered in soot and oil and cinders. So by 1836, Rocket has been altered by a number of ways to make it a useful engine, as the Reverend Audrey might have said. So it's got a smoke box on the front to catch all the cinders and the ash. It's got the cylinders lowered down to give it a smoother ride, and it's also been painted green.
Rocket goes green.
Rocket goes green.
So why is Rocket now brown and not green?
Well, Rocket, the green is the boiler cladding, the timber boiler lagging, and throughout its life it's lost that lagging, so all you see now is pretty much the wrought iron boiler and castings as they survived into preservation in 1862.
Well, I've sent a message now from Matthew K and Clara. Now, how much of Rocket is original in 1829?
More of it than you would think,
Really?
but not as much as we'd like. So the driving wheel is the big wheel, the boiler is, the cylinders are, but the little trailing wheels at the back, other parts of it, the smoke box is not, it's a later addition, but none of it is newer really than 1836. There's a few bits that were put on by Science Museum people in the early 1900s, but they've all come off again now, so the Rocket is as good as you can see it.
Now, quick question again about the trains outside. What's the green flag for?
That's for the guards to say that they are ready for the train to depart the platform.
And that is being done by Elizabeth
That's
out
it.
there. So that's Elizabeth. Now, we are going to walk straight past now the star exhibit here in the museum. We can see it, you can't. We're going to come back to this. Behind you, and you'll see shortly, is Stephenson's original Rocket. And we're going to show you in a minute, here tonight, Rocket standing right behind you. I'm going to show that in a very small amount of time. Now, we'd like to show you inside. Now, Anthony, we're now going to look inside live.
Yep.
Brass, Steel and Fire, the exhibition that you have curated with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And the team are all around us. So, folks, welcome to Brass, Steel and Fire.
Now, this is phenomenal. Oh my word, this is phenomenal. This is lovely. Now, and I know that you and I are men who love small steam locomotives, but this is full of treasures, isn't it?
This is absolutely the best of the best. These are gems from the dawn of steam. through to 1910 and thereabouts, the zenith of steam locomotive engineering. So some of these are experimental pieces, some of these are pleasure pieces, some of them are sales tools. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. Some of them blew up, some of them didn't. We've got the model engine that inspired Edith Nesbit with Peter in The Railway Children when Peter's engine blew up. We have others built by young men who went on to make their career as locomotive engineers at the height of their work.
Now, there are a couple here we're going to pick out for everyone at home watching this, on your mobile phones, wherever you might be. We've just seen outside, we have seen a full-scale one-to-one model of rocket, but here is a small-scale model of rocket. Tell us about this rocket model.
Well, this is an incredible piece about how the railways inspire people to make models and choose engineering as a profession. So it says rocket on the side, it's got the same number of wheels, it's got a tall chimney, but there the similarity ends. But you've got to think that, you know, it's delightfully naive. It's almost like folk art. And somebody's seen rocket and said, I want one of those, I'm going to make one of those. And it's been so lovingly created. There's no fine detail on it, but everything has been made beautifully. And it's been so loved by its owners over the years that the maker's name that was engraved on the steam cylinders has been so worn away by polishing. But it's a wonderful, wonderful, just one of the 20-odd locos that we have on display in here.
20 different locomotives?
About 24, yeah.
Oh, how absolutely lovely. Now, if you look down here, show me some other models that we find interesting.
Let's have a look at Invicta here. So Invicta is the younger sister of Rocket, and this is made in 1830 at Stephenson's works in Newcastle on Tyne, just after Rocket. So you can see there's a similarity, the chimney and the cylinder at the angle there, but it's made by a young man called Edward Fletcher. Edward Fletcher is an apprentice to the Stephensons at the time. This is the Canterbury and Whitstable locomotive Invicta. It was built alongside the full-size engine, this model. Edward Fletcher goes off down to Canterbury and Whitstable, drives the full-size engine on the opening day of the railway, goes on to become their engineer, and by the 1870s he is the chief mechanical engineer of the Northeastern Railway, building the fastest and most powerful locomotives of the day. So a young man takes his vision and becomes the best of his craft.
That's marvellous. Now,
it's gorgeous.
It's interesting. In this whole room, there are a number of railway locomotives,
yes,
but there are also a couple of engines here that aren't railway locomotives,
yes,
right?
Yes. So this is glorious again. This goes back right to the beginning again when we talked earlier about locomotives not necessarily being able to climb hills. So the Stockton-Darlington Railway had winding engines, stationary winding engines, stationed at the top of hills with ropes extending either direction so they could pull the trains up the hill. And this engine was made in 1836 by a young man called Thomas Greener. That's his portrait over there when he's a lot later in life. But he makes this engine in 1836 as an apprentice on the Stockton-Darlington. He then becomes an engineer in his own right, a businessman, an entrepreneur, a coach builder, latterly a consultant railway engineer based out of London. But this thing here is the oldest workable model steam engine in the world. There's film of it. We can't run it every day here, but there's film of it in action.
In the exhibition, you can just see it here. So running repairs. So you actually have here the world's oldest operating model steam engine in the world.
Absolutely.
And it's here.
It's glorious.
Now, I know that you have been around the world to collect objects for this exhibition, and I know there are several that I know and love. There's Swift over there, there's models around the corner here. In fact, there's one just over this side of the exhibition I recognise from child's holidays, and I know inspired you and me as children to do the things that we love. Because over here, if you are familiar with the Festiniog Railway in northwest Wales, it is a model called Topsy. Topsy of 1869. This has been on display and occasionally in storage in Portmaddock in the cafe at the steam railway, Festiniog Railway. And tell us about this engine.
So Topsy is mainly a gentleman's toy, but it becomes a massive tool of expanding narrow gauges, the phenomenon of the narrow gauge railway across the world. So Festiniog is the first railway to use narrow gauge steam engines in the 1860s. Its engineer, Charles Spooner, he and his son and one of their colleagues, William Williams, build this engine in 1869, and there are contemporary accounts of grown men from Russia, from India, from Mexico, all on their knees watching this engine run round the front garden at Bronnegarth in North Wales, where the Spooners lived. And because they took the concept, they saw the concept of the narrow gauge railway, it means that you have things like the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway, some of the other fabulous mountain railways in Russia, in Mexico, South America. This is narrow gauge, goes global, and it's down to Topsy.
Absolutely, and I think it's fair to say that this one, so you as a curator,
Yep.
helped inspire you?
Yeah. I mean, it's wrong to have favourites, of course. Everyone is a favourite here, but I remember this thing in the cafe at Portmaddock. I've drunk beer in front of this thing in the pub now at Spooners at Portmaddock, and they named the pub Spooners after Charles Spooner, the initiator of this engine.
Lovely. Now, we're here, of course, for this exhibition, Brass, Steel and Fire, which opens tomorrow morning and is open until the 13th of April of next year. It's free to enter here in the free to enter National Railway Museum. But the star exhibit of this show...
I'll get the door.
Get the door. Go on, Chuck, get the door. Is outside here. This is, as Ant said, the model for all locomotives that followed. Truly, it is number one. This is, as Ant said, the genesis of modern locomotives. It isn't the world's first steam locomotive, is it?
No. There have been steam engines in the UK from 1803, 1804. If you take the mobile steam engine, William Murdoch is messing around with steam road carriages in 1798. But this is the engine that sets the standard. So the railway revolution changes the way that we live as a country. It changes our communications. We've seen how the internet has grown over the past the 21st century, the mobile phone, virtual, immediate technology. This was cutting-edge white heat of technology in 1829. This takes the steam locomotive from being the coal-hauling, lumbery, ploddy thing doing 10, 12 miles an hour and consuming vast quantities of coal to being light, fast, efficient and a serious mode of transport.
Absolutely. We talked about how it changed the design of this from the years when it was first built. You've seen the one outside when it's bright yellow in 1829. It had the chimney coming out the front, out of the flue. What's happened here? It's been extended, or did they change the front of the boiler? What's happened here?
They found that Rocket in its original form was built solely to win the Rainhill trials. It was there to win the prize and prove that steam locomotives were a viable option. Within a few days, it was obvious of the Liverpool-Manchester opening that Rocket was not suitable to everyday operation. It moved around a bit, the front end clogged up with cinders and char, and what you see here is Rocket this is it as it was around 1836, with a few bits missing, of course, but Rocket as it became a useful engine. It's sold out of use in the 1830s to a railway in Carlisle, and they keep it going.
I mean, look at this. I mean, you can see it's like a cartwheel. It's got wooden wheels. It's got wooden pegs in the wheels. The steam locomotive. It's genuinely remarkable. This is early tech, right?
It is.
But it's a survivor. And how has this engine survived for so long?
It survived because people recognised it in the 1830s for what it is. It was used on the Brampton Railway near Carlisle till about 1836. It carried parliamentary papers, the papers from a general election to the Count, because it was the fastest way of doing it. But it's put into a shed by 1840. 1851, it's rediscovered by Robert Stevenson Company in Newcastle, and it becomes a bit of a pet, but it's shoved in the corner. They always want to restore it, but it's put into the corner. And 1862, it becomes part of the Science Museum collection, and of course it's been one of our absolute treasures ever since.
So it's been in the Science Museum Group collection. It's been there for what, since 1862?
Yeah.
It was down in the patent office for many years. It then went on a little trip around the country. How has it managed to get here to the National Railway Museum? How did it get here across from Manchester? From
Manchester, it's been a real operation with our conservation and logistics teams, our collection services. It's moved on a special crate, a special frame. The chimney comes off it, and it's actually quite delicate. We look at it now and you think, oh, it's a steam engine. It's really quite solid. It's not. I mean, you know, this is 190 odd years old, and it's very delicate. It's something that it's an artifact, it's a treasure, and thus it needs to be moved as such. So it took about 3 days to deinstall it, a couple of days bringing it over, and then another 2-3 days to reinstall it here.
I've got two more questions.
Two more questions.
One from Lisa, which is, Anthony, why are you wearing a suit? I've never seen you wear a suit before.
Hello, Mrs. Crankshaw. Yes, very
That's
good. You have seen me wearing a suit
one
before.
One from me. We'll answer all other questions. We're running out of time, I'm afraid. We'll answer all other questions. Sorry, two more questions. One from Claudia Muller says, are there full drawings of Rocket available?
There is a really good book called The Engineering History of Rocket, which was by Michael Bailey, Dr. Michael Bailey and Dr. John Glitheroe. It was published about 20 years ago, but it's got all the drawings that you would ever need in it. Yeah. There are a number of model engineering designs of Rocket as well, but you need to hunt those out. We also have a set of drawings from a reproduction that was made in the 1850s, so there's numerous drawings around of it.
I'm sure you can come here and ask.
You can,
search
engine.
engine.
Absolutely.
So search engine, which is open, I think,
yeah.
on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, is it?
I think it's Wednesdays to Saturdays.
It is. Please ask on search engine online, and they can help you search for those diagrams and drawings. One more for me. Can this take steam again? Could we see it steam again?
I am afraid not, without a lot of sticky back plastic and willpower, you know.
I do hope not. Well, I think really it just remains for me to thank you very much, Anthony,
thank you, Tim.
and the team for putting on a truly remarkable exhibition, and the NRM for supporting it, and the rest of the Science Museum group in supporting this. I urge you, do come and look at these 20-odd, because they are odd, steam locomotives in miniature format here at the National Railway Museum here in York. It is free to enter, as are seeing the 40-odd other big locomotives and carriages and the rest over
more like
the
140
site. And there are so many different things to see here. Thank you all so very much for watching as part of the Facebook group and Facebook Live. It means for me now just to bid you all good evening from York and the rest of the National Railway Museum team. Good evening.